Hi there and welcome to this flying video. This is Saturday the 15th of January 2022. Today's flight is a double flight. It's up to the Middlebrook Stadium and back, once with Phil, my instructor, and again there and back on my own. A couple of learning points in this video, so we'll cover those as they come up. But for now, here's the takeoff on runway 26 right from Manchester Barton. Here we are airborne then. We'll be turning right shortly, so flaps away at 300 feet in stages, and then when we reach 500 feet we'll make a right turn. Just a quick disclaimer, please don't use this video for instructional purposes. Instructors are much better than me at flying instruction. I've also edited out all the essential but not particularly entertaining bits, like all the checks and the engine run-ups before the start of this video. So they have been completed, but they've been edited out for the interest of the length of this video. So because we're leaving the circuit and departing to the northwest, there's a clearing turn coming up at 1,000 feet as we pass through 1,000 feet, just to make sure there's no traffic either below and to the right of me or below and to the left of me. So that's what this little wiggle is now. I hadn't been drinking, it's a normal manoeuvre just to make sure there's no traffic that you can't see. So we'll continue the climb up to 1,500 feet, 1,500 feet towards the Middlebrook Stadium. So the Holton Industrial Estate, that's a visual reporting point, a VRP is just in front of us, so we'll get a slight left turn in now to track straight towards the Middlebrook Stadium. just coming up to the Middlebrook Stadium. It'll be appearing shortly just off the left wing. It's quite a good landmark. It's visible for quite a long way, so with decent visibility, it's quite an easy thing to spot. Visibility today wasn't too bad, slightly hazy in the distance, but not too bad for flying at all. Just spotted some traffic off the right wing there, so Phil and I are both having a little look at that and forming a plan. So rather than turning left to head back over the Middlebrook Stadium, what we decided to do was to keep that traffic in sight, turn right, make sure we remained visual with it, so that if we did have to make a turn, we didn't converge with that traffic like we would have done if we'd have gone left over the stadium. So just commencing that right turn now to keep that traffic in sight, but start to head back towards Barton, back towards where we want to go. So now that traffic's out of the way, back over the Middlebrook Stadium we go, heading back towards Barton now, so back at 1,700 feet towards Holden Industrial Estate again. So shortly you'll see I've spotted some traffic just off the left wing, so making a right turn so our paths don't converge. You can just see the traffic there moving right to left, just in front of the left wing there. You may also have noticed that in dealing with that traffic I've gained 100 feet, so currently flying at 1,800 feet rather than the intended 1,700 feet. It's an interesting learning point in that when things kind of surprise you, or you have to deal with a situation like, you know, missing traffic that's flying towards you, it's very easy to lose, you know, heading directions, altitude, to do all those things and maintain that intention. The rest of the trip back to Barton's pretty uneventful, the same route as we followed on the way out, and then a standard overhead join, overhead Barton. So we'll skip now to final approach. So here's the final approach to runway 26 right at Barton, just going over the M60 viaduct there, just off the left wing. The usual mantra from Phil now of airspeed, aiming point, airspeed, aiming point. So airspeed on this final approach is 65 knots, and the aiming point are the numbers for the runway for 26 right. So keeping a constant watch on that airspeed and a constant watch on that aiming point. No headwind today, no real wind at all to speak of. You can see the windsock there off the left wing, just kind of almost vertically straight downwards. This landing coming up slightly flat, not enough of a flare really, but not too much of a thud, so that's always a bonus. Going to be turning off the runway fairly shortly just to get onto the taxiway. Reasonably muddy conditions underfoot or under wheel, so slowing down reasonably well just from the resistance from the ground here. So just turning off the runway now onto the taxiway, you can just about make out the big red signs up ahead on the right hand side. That's to indicate runway 20 crosses this taxiway, so you can't proceed past that sign, past that board, without clearance from the tower to say that you're okay to cross, just in case that runway is active or any traffic on that runway. So that's the first trip out to the Middlebrook Stadium and back. So we'll skip now to me doing it all over again on my own. I'm just waiting for traffic on final to land. There it goes, just right to left across the front of me onto the runway. Was instructed by Harry in the tower to line up and wait on runway 26 right because the runway is occupied, so you get a chance to actually make progress onto the runway even though you can still see the aircraft in front of me is just taxiing off towards the far end of the runway. So my first learning point for this video was something I've edited out for the interest of time, and it's not particularly entertaining watching, but before Phil jumped out, we turned the radio down so we could have a chat about procedure to get back up to Middlebrook and back. After Phil jumped out, I made my radio call to the tower just to say I was ready to taxi and proceed back up north again. No reply, which I thought was a bit strange. Tried again, no reply. Tried a radio check, no reply. And this particular aircraft, I'm not massively used to flying. It's the same type as what I usually fly. So what the aircraft I usually fly is Golf Lima Alpha Charlie Bravo. That's a PA-28. This aircraft is again a PA-28, but different registration, different aircraft. This is G-ISHA, so Golf India Sierra Hotel Alpha. The radio is slightly different, some of the knobs are slightly different. Long story short, turns out I was transmitting with the radio turned down, so I couldn't hear the tower, but the tower could hear me. So apologies to Harry in the tower. We've had a little text conversation afterwards, but every day is a school day. So just wanted to share one of my learning points. It's very easy to kind of have things turned down or forget things. It's why checklists are so important. Checklist before you even start the engine, checklist en route, checklist before you land, just to make sure that all those things are done. So a bit of a different situation because Phil jumping out, my instructor, midway through a flight is a bit of an unusual situation to be in. It's not a normal event that you're kind of used to running through and planning through. So learning point for me is actually when those slightly different things might happen. So instructors jumping out or things that aren't almost routine that I haven't done lots of times before. It's just to take that extra moment to go run through those extra steps of what things I need to make sure I've absolutely done, and refer to those checklists again. So taking off on my own again, same runway, same direction, just coming up to 1,000 feet again. So we'll do a little bit of a drunken wiggle just to make sure there's no traffic to the bottom right or bottom left of me that I can't see. So we'll climb up to 1,500 feet again as we head towards the Middlebrook Stadium. Just to make clear a point from the previous voiceover, my instructor jumped out on the ground. I haven't quite driven him to jumping out during flight yet. There's always next time, but just to make that super clear, my instructor jumping out mid-flight would certainly be more than an unusual situation. It would be slightly scary, wouldn't it, really? coming up to the Middlebrook Stadium again. You can just see it above the seatbelt on the left hand side there, just going out of view shortly. You might notice this approach is slightly wider to the right. The reason I did that was so that when I turned left to come back towards Barton, I wanted to try and roll out of this left hand turn, overhead the Middlebrook, so start on the right hand side, make a left turn, and then roll out overhead the actual stadium. The climb to above the Middlebrook, so 1,700 feet, I delayed slightly because there was inbound traffic coming the other direction at the same altitude, so flew a bit further at 1,500 feet, commenced a climb that I've just finished now, ready for that turn back left overhead the Middlebrook Stadium. At this point, I'm slightly off track. You can see the visibility going this direction is slightly worse, it's slightly hazier. The thing that we tend to try and fly towards is the Halton Industrial Estate and then the ski slope, which is, I think, the Chill Factory just next to the Trafford Centre. It's quite a good landmark. At this point, I'm not going in the right direction, or rather I'm heading in the right general direction, but the track I want towards Halton Industrial Estate is not in front of me. It's currently off the left wing. So notice that this picture looks a bit strange. You can see my thinking face there. Something doesn't quite look right. Checking what heading I'm on, checking what my visual picture is out of the window. And my visual picture out of the window does not match my mental picture of what that should look like. So something needed to change. So I'd spotted that the industrial estate that I want is currently leftwards. I'm looking at it now and making that turn just to get back on the track of where I want to get to. Thankfully, I didn't bust any airspace doing this. If I'd have kept on my previous track, I wouldn't have ended up in the low-level route, probably too high, so I would have been above that and in restricted airspace. So now back on track, made that turn towards Halton Industrial Estate, which is now just off the nose, just in front, and then from there I'll be turning to track towards the ski slope. So the second learning point for this video was that making sure you're flying the right headings. If you don't have a picture that matches what your mental picture is, take stock and take note. If I'd have done nothing there, I'd have ended up in controlled airspace and had a bit of a shouting at some point probably, or at least a reasonably serious chat with somebody from the relevant authorities. So all good, no major issues. Noticed, did something about it, changed that course, and got there in the end. So just coming up off the left wing is the ski slope we mentioned earlier. It's quite a good landmark. It's a really weird shape, wedge shaped. You can see it from quite a long way away, and you know that if you aim towards that, then the airfield is just off the right of it. So you can see the just off the right wing, the two runways. You can just see those two white marks of the runways at Barton. So ski slope there, you can see it quite well now, just in the left window. And I'll be starting a dead side descent from overhead join height down to circuit height of 1,000 feet. So aiming to level off at the other end of the runway that I want to land on at 1,000 feet, and then I'll turn right for downwind. then on the downwind leg of the circuit pattern. I've just reduced my speed and deployed flaps so that I can do slow, safe cruise. Traffic was in front of me that was going to land rather than do a touch and go or a low approach and go around. So they need a bit more time to vacate the runway. So by flying more slowly, you can actually increase that gap and give the traffic in front of you just a bit more time to vacate the runway before I want to be on that piece of runway as well. So it's just extending the downwind leg here, so flying slightly further towards Manchester city centre before this right turn, and also at a lower speed than usual, just with those 2 stages of flap deployed. This stage of the circuit pattern is called base leg, so you're flying at right angles to the runway, so the runway is now off the right wing. Things start to happen quite quick, you get busy, usually deploying flaps, but I deployed them already because I'd use them for slow, safe cruise, whacking the carb heat on and reducing that engine power, and also commencing that descent. So there's quite a lot going on. If you're new to flying and you're only just kind of getting into the circuit pattern, this is where things start to get busy. You do get used to it, don't worry. You get that practice and get that experience, but initially quite a lot happens in quite a short space of time. So here's the turn from that base leg onto what we call final approach, or onto final. So this is with the runway directly in front of me now, so I'll be rolling out with that runway ahead, reducing speed again to 65 knots and deploying another stage of flaps. So that's 3 stages of flaps, full flap deployment. There they go now. It looks like a big handbrake, and it kind of does the same thing. It slows you down, it increases the size of the wing, means you can fly safely at a slower speed. So obviously when you're about to land, you want to be flying full stop, but also want to be flying as slowly as as is safe to do, so that you have less speed to lose when you make contact with the ground. So just about to fly over the M60 motorway again, and I think it's the AJ Bell Stadium just coming up off the left as well. We'll get rid of carb heat at 300 feet, so we've got full engine power if we need it for a go around. There it goes now, just that little switch on the right there. Sometimes get a bit of a blowing around off the flats down here coming up. There wasn't much wind again today. This landing's slightly better than the previous one, slightly less flat, and have more of a flow on this one. So let's watch. And there we are, safely down. So thank you for letting me share this video with you all. Hopefully the learning points are useful. Every day's a school day, so I was in 2 minds about whether to share the bits of the video in where I get things wrong. So as the radio and also the course correction from the Middlebrook to the Hulton Industrial Estate. So there we are. That's today's flying experience. If you've got any comments about what I should have done differently, feel free to add them in the comments below. I appreciate a moving map, or indeed a chart, would have been useful on my lap. I suppose my excuse is that I'd done it once, I should have known the way the second time, but there we are. Every day is a school day. Every day is a school day. So thanks for watching. Comment below, like it if you like. Feel free to subscribe as well. There'll be more of these coming over the next few weeks and months as my journey to learn to fly continues. Thanks for watching. See you soon.